Hey, Roger Brown here, UMG Energy. I want to go through some frequently asked questions now. I just want to tell you up front, don't skip around because I want to give a lot of information in here that you really need to hear if you have any interest in becoming a referral partner for any company. I'm going to give you a lot of detail about how it works with our company, but this translates to any industry that you might be interested in referring to your contact list. This is a template for how you can make this work with any business, literally. So just stick around. You're going to be glad you did. First of all, how much money can you make in a year? That's the biggest question we get. And I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. I'm going to link to some case studies that may help clarify this. But let's just say these are actual projects that we've had where, let's just say we save $40,000 a month. That is not unusual for a giant company. We've saved more than that because their utility bills could run into the millions, so it's not even that much money in the scheme of things. But if you save $40,000 a month, our agreements are always shared savings, which means that we split 50-50 whatever the actual savings is going forward for 36 months. So if it's $40,000 a month, that means we're splitting 20. We're getting a check for 20. The referring partner gets $5,000 of that. Now, over 36 months, that's $180,000. That's for making a connection. All we need is an introduction, and we take it from there. Now, say it's not a giant company. Say it's a small manufacturer or maybe even assisted living centers can run into these kind of numbers. But if you're saving $4,000 instead of $40,000 a month, we're still splitting that for 36 months going forward. So that's for $1,000 split in half, $2,000 a month. The referring partner is getting a check for $500 a month or $18,000 over those 36 months. That's the way it works. And we've had over 1,000 accounts. Most of them have come in through referral partners, and so that's basically the way it works. What is included in our program, our referral partner program? Well, what we want to do is set you up to succeed, which means we want to get you very familiar with our business and how we go about saving money, which is basic blocking and tackling, figuring out ways that we can save on the price per gallon, so to speak, the amount that companies pay for their utilities, whether it be electricity, gas, water and sewer, solid waste hauling. We're looking for that unit price and things that we can do to lower that unit price. But we've got to show you how to do that, or you're not going to be able to represent it. But we want you to feel very comfortable about the model and how it works, so you can go to people on your contact list and represent it and say, I've got somebody I think you need to talk to, this Roger Brown with UMG Energy, and make that connection and feel very confident in that. So we have 4 training modules. We also have email sequences that you can send out to your contact list to set up that call. And then leave the driving to us. You can be involved in it as much as you want, but you don't have to. We'll just keep you apprised of the process and where we are in it along the way. And if we need your help to push it over the line, we're not going to hesitate to ask. Now, what are the objections to sales shared savings? That's another question we get, because it seems on the front end, like, who in the heck would object to something that doesn't cost anything up front? Because our basic premise is we're not going to charge a customer anything unless we actually put money in their pocket. And for that to happen, several things have to occur. First of all, they give us their invoices. We review those and we come up with recommendations for cost reduction. We then tell the company exactly what we recommend doing. The company then tells us We like that. Go get it done. That's the only way it would ever happen, is if a company told us to get it done, because we can't do anything on behalf of a company without their approval, without their express approval. Utilities would never make those changes, even if we wanted to do that, which we don't. But we've got to realize that people have their biases, and sometimes, especially people down the line from the C level, will have a problem with our fee. They'll calculate, oh gosh, what if this guy saves $1 million a year? We're going to pay him $500,000. I might lose my job for paying them that much. That's usually an objection that we will get, is somebody thinking possibly I need to try to do this myself or I'm going to get fired. With a C level, meaning CEO, CFO, that doesn't happen. They're not afraid of the fees because they realize the concept of found money is we're not the only one coming up with that. So it's not unique to us, and usually they've been through a process like ours before, so we're not going to get an objection. Sometimes we get a little pushback. It's very rare on our billing proposition, but if we do, we deal with that, depending on how large the accounts are, how many different locations there are. So how do you calculate actual savings? Another really good question that we don't get that often, but sometimes we do. And this is a very fair before and after picture that we calculate. And let me explain what I mean by that. Is when we get a set of utility bills from a customer, they are being billed according to a certain formula. And the utility comes up with that formula, and that's why it's so easy to calculate savings, is because it's formula based. There is an algorithm or a formula that creates their bill. Like in the case of electricity, it's going to be a customer service fee. It's going to be a particular rate. There are going to be ancillary charges on that bill that either are right or are not right. There's a lot of moving parts that we can make changes to and improve the billing situation for the customer without them having to use less energy. So what we do is we take that invoice, the formula that's on that invoice when we first get it from the customer, and that's our before picture. That's before we got involved. Then let's say we go down that line, we recommend a certain savings avenue, whether it's a rate or whatever, and we present that the customer. He says, yes, let's go for it, get it done. We get it done. Once we see that invoice from the customer, the change has actually been made by the utility, then we recalculate what the bill would have been had we not been involved. So we recalculate it based on that old formula. So we've got a before picture that we've just created. What would the bill have been before we ever got involved, had we not gotten involved? And then we subtract what the actual bill was. And the difference between those two numbers is the savings. So every month stands on its own, because we want to make sure the customer is actually saving money before we ever invoice them for 50%. But it's very straightforward, and a lot of times we'll even get the utility to validate that for us before we send it to the customer, make sure they agree with it. Another question we get, and this is sometimes people will object, like the previous question, because they don't understand this. They think we're comparing last year's cost to this year's cost and creating a savings based on that and not even having done anything. And we explain very quickly, no, every month stands on its own. We do a before and after picture. We do not compare this year's cost to last year's cost. And the reason we can't do that, and the reason we don't do that, number one, it's not fair, it's not right, it's not correct. That we don't want to take credit for savings that we didn't actually initiate and do. But also, it's because there are variations in the amount of energy that a customer will use that may contribute to a savings or an increase in cost through nothing that they've done, no inefficiencies on their part, just simply because the heat index was higher in the summer, or it was a colder winter, so they're using more utilities, or vice versa, and they're using less utilities. So that's just not a fair way to do it. We've seen consultants that do things that way, and we do not do things that way. Another really good question is, if I put you in touch with my referral list, my referrals, how long do the sales calls take? How do I tell my friends or my colleagues that you're going to get on a call with them? How long is it going to take? Generally, the concept is so simple. It doesn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes. And C-level kind of people are the right people, or owners. They're very busy, and they get these concepts very fast. They've seen them before. Like I say, it's not a one-off concept. It's out there a good bit, this pay for performance model. Another question is, what information does UMG need in order to analyze utility costs? Very simple. We just need a recent bill. Doesn't have to be the most recent bill, but a recent bill helps, because we want to get the most clear picture of what they're actually spending now. We just need one for each meter. Sometimes clients will think, they don't want that because it's too small. We want every one of them, because sometimes there are opportunities to combine those accounts. We see some, especially in education, where utilities will put a meter on everything. Like they'll meter their grandmother. They'll put one on every building somebody's got, and they have very diverse loads amongst those buildings. And they'll pay 20 cents a kilowatt hour for one and 5 cents per kilowatt hour for another one. It's all over the map. So we want to see every invoice, every account, to see if we can do something about that type of situation. Another really good question is, what percentage of clients do you actually save money for? Now, this is not scientific, and it's probably a little bit higher than this because I'm an engineer and I tend to underestimate, but in the 85 to 90% range. Nothing is ever 100%. I don't care. If somebody tells you that, don't believe them. Nothing in this business or any business is 100%. Some states are higher than others. When you join the program, we give you a list where the most likely savings is going to be. We tell you which states and which industries that are the most powerful. But it's in the 85 to 90% range. I can say that with a lot of confidence, that we'll be able to save money, find savings in that many businesses that we look at. So if we look at 100 businesses, we're going to generate savings, find savings in 85 to 90%. Another good question is, do I have to have my own company in order to do this, to refer business to you? You certainly can, and people do, but it's not required. I operated as a sole proprietor for years before creating a formal business entity. I've got a sub-S corporation now, but on the advice of my tax advisor, but it's not necessary to do that. Depends on how much money you make, and there are a lot of qualifications that you would need to get your own tax advisor involved in to be able to see if it benefit you to do that. Does this program work in regulated and in deregulated energy markets? Yes, it does, because we're concentrating on everything, the deregulated side and the regulated side. There's a lot of energy that, even in the deregulated side, a lot of energy costs did not get deregulated. And a lot of people don't know that. The markets are deregulated as far as the supply of energy, the electrons or the CCF of natural gas or the gallons of water. A lot of the water and sewer markets are still regulated. Most are, but the part that didn't get deregulated and is still postage stamp, as they call it in the industry, is the delivery infrastructure. And a lot of what we're doing, especially with natural gas, a lot of what we're doing is finding savings on that delivery part. And for large users, they pay a lot for delivery. And there are a lot of different options that you can bring into play and save money, both electricity and natural gas with the delivery side. And that's applicable to every state. Another question is, wouldn't companies be taking it up legally with energy suppliers when they discover they have been overcharged? Well, that's an excellent question. And in any other market other than utilities, it would be apropos. But in utilities, they're governed by public service commissions. They come up with rate structures to recover their costs. That's the point of these rates, to recover their cost and to increase business, to bring business into the state by having a lot of options for a lot of diverse load. So the way utilities and utility overseers like public service commissions and legislatures look at the product that a utility supplier is providing is that not necessarily let the buyer be aware, but if you put this out there on the internet or you make it available that a company might have these options, then you don't have to ram it down their throat. You don't have to insist. You don't even have to bring it up to them. You just make it available. And if you've ever seen an electric rate, you'd understand how they don't make it easy to figure it out. They might put that information out there, but they don't really go to a lot of trouble to explain it. But there's no real legal option unless a utility is just resistant. You find savings and they just will not give it back, which is, I've never really found it to be the case. There's no reason to get an attorney involved. Usually, they're like any other quasi-government entity. They're easy to work with if you follow their rules, and that's what we do. And another question is, can you give some examples of companies that are good to approach? That's very solid, and we go into a lot more detail in the training about this, but any facility that is using energy around the clock, which means manufacturers or hospitals, oil and gas pipelines, these round-the-clock, 24/7, 365 facilities are typically really good for what we're doing. And the reason is, one, they're using a lot of utilities. But two, utilities and suppliers will gear their products around that type of user. Why? Because if you're an electricity generating facility, say if that's your business, you're a utility, and you are generating you are generating power. Well, the economies of scale of running an operation like that are you have to keep the fire going. You have to keep this process moving, or it's going to become very inefficient. So they reward companies that are using their product, their electricity, on a consistent, long-term basis, and that's very predictable. Like a hospital or manufacturer, they seldom ever take off, a hospital especially, and they're going to be a reliable demand for power 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the utility that generates electricity can count on that. They know if they're running their manufacturing plant, their power production plant, that the hospitals in town are going to consume their energy. That's absolutely for sure. So if you target 24/7, 365 facilities, you're going to have the best results, guaranteed. The last question, I'll take that back, a couple more questions. Another question is, are you the only one? Is UMG the only one offering this service, or are there other businesses out there like that? No, there are other businesses that do this work. What I found is I don't want to talk badly about a competitor, but there are a lot of them that give a quick cursory look for mistakes, and they're looking for one particular thing. We look for everything. We turn over every stone. So our savings tend to be higher. Because of that approach, we've found a lot of savings where others have not. I wrote a book. How can I get a copy of your book, Roger? This is not an exhaustive list, but it's sold on Amazon, the Association of Energy Engineers bookstore. It's a Taylor and Francis distributed book on energy cost reduction, and Taylor and Francis puts out a lot of textbooks. Oh, it's expensive, but that's where you can get my book. So what if, here's final question, finally. What if companies don't pay you? What do you do? Well, I get that question not real often, but people ask it, and there probably a lot more people are thinking about it and don't ask it. But the truth is, not many people present that problem. I've had, over the last 26 years, a handful, like less than 5 people that have tried to cheat me. And yes, why? That's also a good question, because human nature, people cheat other people. My explanation for why it doesn't really happen in this industry is we've done so much together. We go to a lot of trouble to create a paper trail of these savings. We make sure that the fact that we've recommended these savings has gotten has been documented in emails. We make sure that it's documented. We get them to send us the bills in an email. We get them to the client to give us a letter of authorization. We do a lot of things that really timestamps our work and makes it very obvious. And I've just found that people in general are very honest. There's some bad players out there. There's some people that will try to cheat you no matter what you deliver to them. That's just the way they're wired, and they don't see anything wrong with that. They just, thankfully, very few of them. Okay, that is it. If you got any other questions, I appreciate you sticking all the way to the end. Drop them in the commentary. I ask you to subscribe to my channel, because we're going to get more and more videos like this. And this is a model that you can apply to any business. I will repeat again. I'm showing you the template. You can work with us, or you can use this template in anything you might be doing. The shared savings template, this referral partner template, it's not the theory of relativity. It's not that complicated. You've seen it before. This is just how we do it. So with that said, have a terrific day, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.